Hello and welcome to another episode of Bergen Stages Television, our entertainment magazine here at Bergen Community College. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host. And currently at the college, in the middle of our season, we are now doing Fahrenheit 451, which is a wonderful sci-fi drama thriller that will be opening on February 28th. And what better way to talk about this show than with two of the stars of the show. So please join me in welcoming Ian Schmidt and Matt DeMarco back to the show. So thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Yeah, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Yeah, you're doing all right. So there's so much about this show that I really want the audience to know, and a lot of people grew up reading this book, and it's a part of their lives, and didn't even know it was an actual play. So we'll get into the nitty-gritty about that. But Matthew, you've been here before for Barefoot in the Park. I think we had you in for that. But just to remind us, what are you doing here at Bergen? What's going on with you? I know you're about done. You're about graduating.
Yeah, I just got done here at Bergen.
This is it?
This is it.
That finished.
Yeah,
well,
but
congratulations.
thank you. I just decided why not just do another show?
Great. And you got your AA in music?
It was supposed to be an Associates of Fine Arts for Music Tech, but I got it mailed to me. It says Associates of Science, so I kind of have to get that.
The ASS and music business?
Technology.
Oh, music technology.
Production.
That's why.
Yeah.
It's technology.
So I kind of have to call them and ask about that.
Yeah, have a little
because
conversation with the music program. Good. But that's what you want to do. You want to get more into music because I know you play and you sing, but you want to get.
I love music. I love anything to do with the arts. I love writing music. I love composing. I love performing. So
you did the right degree. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I like to think so.
Cool. And Ian, it's been a while. I remember, I think you and I had a class together. I taught a Monday night intro to theater class years ago, and you were in it. I think that's when we first met.
Yes.
I'm not sure if that was the season you did War and Paramus.
It might have been.
At the same time.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So you're a great alum of the program.
Yes.
What have you been doing with yourself since you majored in what? What was your?
I majored in theater.
I thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got my associates in 2012, I believe. And I never went to a four-year university. I was taking care of my mother, who was very sick, for many years. But recently, I've just enjoyed coming back to do the shows. I have a job in sales, and I find that getting to act keeps me loose for that. Since my managers say it's a bit of a paid acting gig, since I'm using a different name, a different voice on the phone. So I find that coming back and doing shows.
Kind of more improv on the phone with the salesmanship.
Definitely,
but at least keeps you on your toes doing this.
But I find that embodying a character on stage keeps me loose.
Great, and so that's great. So War and Paramus was your first one, which was a wonderful show, an original script that we got to do. And what other shows did you do here at the college?
I did a lot of tech work too. I did tech work for the Mousetrap. I did Comedy Improv Night, Young Playwrights Festival.
And then Barefoot in the Park last season. And then now Fahrenheit 451.
And Picnic.
And Picnic. Oh my God, Picnic, yes.
Yeah.
We had you earlier this year already. So
I did Man for All Seasons with Tom as well.
See, it's all coming back.
Yeah,
I'm suddenly
slowly.
remembering all these great shows you were in. That's right. Good. Well, it's great to have you back.
Thank you.
And back on stage. And I think a lot of our audience are going to remember the two of you in Barefoot together, but also your great Howard in Picnic this season.
Yes.
So it's great. So now you talked about going into sales and helping at home after you finish with your degree. What do you think you're going to do, Matthew?
Well,
plans?
I'm definitely going to be looking into more acting opportunities. I'm definitely going to be focusing a lot more on music before deciding to go back and transfer to another state school. But right now, I'm just focusing on my work. I'm focusing on.
You're just going to get into the working world right now. You're not worried about finishing a four-year school or anything like that.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. I've always believed that education is something I can always go back to if I so chose to.
So as a music technology major, that gets you ready to work in a studio? And
Yeah, pretty much. I kind of always thought that I should go for more. Well, not to say that I could have gone for a music performance degree, but I decided that if I wanted to do something a little bit that I found more practical, just getting to know the more technical side of things, so I know that it kind of broadens my horizon a little bit. If I can't get into performing for a living, I can at least work, backstage or behind the scenes more and kind of.
Plus, you want to. this is going to sound funny. I watched an old episode of My Three Sons, and Mickey Dolenz was on it from the Monkees, and he was a recording artist, but he was like this celebrity singer, but he was in the studio mixing all this stuff with all his. So I think that knowledge of what's going on, is so important as the performer.
Yeah, people don't really realize how much it really goes into it. People are always wondering. It's like, oh, like what is that? Like, what is it that you're into, like doing?
Why do you need to know that?
Yeah,
I'm just
like,
singing and playing it.
Yeah, but it's like something where it's like I like to be able to not have to. I like to be able to rely on myself. I want to be able to write my own music. I want to be able to produce it, record it myself. I don't want to necessarily
get the sound you want by tweaking all the knobs on the board.
Yeah, and kind of just getting to know the whole business side, kind of knowing what I'd be getting into.
That's great. That's great. And I think, and Ian, you kind of alluded to it, that when you were here, you worked backstage as well. And
yeah.
I think that, did you find that as an actor that you appreciated?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
And what was it about it that?
I mean, you get an added appreciation for how much work the crew put in behind the scenes. I know they're often, forgotten, the soundboard, the light person. But, for many shows, especially this one, there are a ton of sound cues.
Yeah.
So I really, empathize with the amount of effort they have to put into it.
Cool.
So
cool. So I think that's kind of two different disciplines talking about music and theater, but I think it's really the same thing. Is that if you can learn that technology part, you're so much more ahead because you understand what they're going through, the unsung heroes sometimes of it, but also that Have you ever thought of directing? Has that ever?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So as a director, you want to know all those things
of course.
too. So just like creating your own album and all that kind of stuff, you just need to know all that creative side with it. Cool. Now, how did you working? Warren Baramus was your first one with us. Did you do theater before?
Yeah, so I went to Tenafly High School. I did a number of plays there. I did a production of Noises Off there, which I know they did here recently. I was Selsden.
You were Selsden.
And I did the Laramie Project in 7th grade, which was an interesting choice for high school.
It really was.
Yeah.
Wow, and they were okay with, because a lot of them go, well, we're not going to do that show.
Yeah, no, they were cool with it. And that's an interesting one where you have a large ensemble, or you have a lot of characters, but you have a small cast playing all of them.
And it's important. I think we need to do it again. I think a lot of people forgot about Matthew Shepard and that whole story. And Laramie Project really let us learn a lot about humanity and a lot about the LGBT community and
and I did some set
Laramie
work.
Project, Noises Off.
I did a lot of tech work there too. I know they did a production of The King and I that I was like light board for. So I did a little bit of techie work.
Do you not do musical theater?
No, I don't sing or dance.
Don't sing or dance. You're the actor. You're the actor. Good. Is there a show you want to be doing? Is there something?
I think my favorite play is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead.
And you haven't done it yet?
I've never done it. No,
cool.
I've read it many times.
Tom Stoppard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tom Stoppard is one of my favorite.
Cool.
If not my favorite play. So I'd love to do that.
Cool.
As either Rosencrantz or Guildenstern.
Just one of the two. You're okay with either. Yeah. Which is a cool play. Good. And I know we kind of talked about it last time you were on the show, but what did you do in high school? What's your background with doing this theater thing?
I mean, I've done theater all throughout high school. I've done a few plays. I've done a lot of musicals here and there throughout high school. I've gone out to other neighboring high schools to do shows.
Which school did you go to? Which high school?
I went to Dumont High School.
Okay, cool.
I spent some time. I did a play over at Leonia High School. I've done.
And they were okay with that? The Dumont people thought you're over it. Were you like, oh?
No, I for a little time I did do a little schooling in Leonia, so I did and so I've done a few musicals here and there.
What did you do? Which?
I mean, I was like just an ensemble for shows. Cool. I did years ago. I did Drowsy Chaperone. I was George. That was great. I love doing that. Yep. I did just some ensemble roles in How to Succeed in Business, Anything Goes. And so but ever since then, I kind of wanted to take a more approach to just straight acting. It's
Which
something
you've been doing here. Yeah, I have been trying to drag you into a musical here.
Yeah, I know.
But I think you've been getting your acting chops really wet with everything you're doing here. And both of you being in Picnic, Barefoot, all these great,
Yeah.
great roles
And
that people would like.
and
to
Bergen
do.
Stage was I just felt was a great place to kind of just dip my feet into it and kind of just because it's always nice being able to work with familiar faces and
Yeah, yeah,
and getting to meet a lot of new people in the process.
Yeah, yeah. So is there a show, like I asked you, is there a show that you would just love to do that's been on your list of
I've never been such a huge like theater buff, but it's like usually whenever a show comes around that I hear about, it's either like, oh my God, I need this part, like this sounds just right for me, but nothing really jumps out to me.
So you read the description of what the character is so that you know, well, I'm right for this. It's important.
Usually, yeah.
Do you read it when you get to the audition, or do you read it ahead of time that you?
Well, I mean, Fahrenheit, I already read the book in high school, so and I it was like, oh, I need to audition for this. Like Montauk, that's such a great role.
Yeah, yeah.
It's something that you can really dive deep into and really study, and it's a process. So and it has a set of challenges. So it was just something I was really looking forward to.
That was a character. You just said this is,
yeah,
just from reading it and knowing your
I
experience with
gravitated
it.
towards
Yeah,
it right
yeah,
away.
Yeah, yeah. How about you, Ian? Is there a do you read ahead of time the character description so you know who you're going for, or do you just kind of let me get in and
Yeah, like Matt, I know I've read the book at some point in high school, and I've seen the original movie. I forget if that's from like the 70s or 80s.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah,
It had to be 70s.
Quite old, yeah. I know I've seen that. There's a more recent Netflix adaptation.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah,
cool.
with Michael B. Jordan in it that I saw. So yeah, I knew the character of Captain Beatty. I always like the the fun character roles, and he's a very like complex and nuanced character.
And he talks a lot.
Yeah.
He's got some great monologues. It's just incredible.
Yeah, no, going in, I didn't realize, because I hadn't seen the script for the play, but I didn't realize I would have like 5 pages of monologuing, but it was exciting to get.
He's got a lot to say.
Yeah.
So again, we had talked before we started today about your experience with the director, Ken Bonifants, who's wonderful. You guys worked with him in Barefoot in the Park, and now with Fahrenheit 451, and then you, of course, Warren Paramus, so way back whenever we did
decade
that.
ago.
Was your first experience with him. So auditioning for Ken, what is that like? So you saw the audition announcement, you knew that these were coming up, and we know that anybody can audition. You don't have to be a theater major or anything like that to be a part of our program here. So you heard the auditions were coming up. What was the process like here?
I mean, I did like my own preparation. I reread the book. I looked to see what I could find of the script because for a time I was out of the country, so it's like I couldn't even like get my hands on a script so I can like know like what I'm getting into. But I mean, for the audition, it was pretty. I mean, Ken has always made it seem like very relaxed. It's always such a stress-free environment.
Totally low pressure and just.
Absolutely.
So you arrive there, you fill out your forms, you get sides from him. I think he brings everybody in, a group in, and just kind of has you read together, right?
Yeah, and sometimes he'll, say you read for this part, and then they'll do the scene over again and switch people up to different places. I know I really wanted to read for Beatty, so I asked when he seemed like he was finished.
And there's nothing wrong with that. As an actor in general, if there's a part that you really want to be considered for.
Yeah, you go in and you're like, yeah, this is the part I had my eyes on. I'd appreciate if you had the time to, give me a shot at it.
To listen to it. I'm fine with what you read me as, but I'd really like to do these things. And it worked, and he read you for Beatty and for Montauk, so the rest is history there. And so you read with other people, and he mixed you up, and then suddenly you get this notice that you're cast in the show. Good, good. And now you're in the midst of rehearsals. And so we talk about the first read-through, and I think I've never talked about that on this show. What happens at the very first read-through? What's the benefit of that first time getting people together?
It's kind of like, it gives us an opportunity to all like feel one another out, see how like we kind of, I mean, it's first like we have to know the show before it's like we kind of it's one foot in front of the other.
So you've read the show before you got to the read-through. You read the script before you got to the read-through?
I didn't read the actual show.
Because you didn't have it.
I didn't have the script
but
until
I had picked up my script. So I had read through.
And so you sit there at the read-through and you just kind of get to meet each other, and it's kind of getting to know you time there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of cool. So you don't really learn a lot other than hearing the intention of the director at that point, I guess. You don't. You just kind of listen and just kind of know we got a trek to go on here, so let's go on this journey. But it begins the journey there. So we're gonna take a little break right now, and then kind of talk about the journey where you are and where we're heading to for opening night for this production of Fahrenheit 451. So we're going to take a very short break, come back, and we'll be talking to Ian and Matthew about Fahrenheit 451 opening on February 28th. Come right back.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
The color in my garden keeps the pink in my cheeks. I was very independent and thought I could take care of myself. I fell and I had to have Meals on Wheels. They're my savior. My name is Lola Silvestri. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Hello and welcome back to Bergen Stages Television, our entertainment magazine here at Bergen Community College. Today I'm talking with Ian Schmidt and Matthew DeMarco about our next production, Fahrenheit 451, that we'll be doing in the Inderhall Lab Theater, opening on February 28th and running for 2 weekends. Guys, we were talking about the whole beginning of the rehearsal process, the first read-through. And for our audience, what happens now? What do you do as an actor? What do you do in these rehearsals? You're rehearsing a lot, I assume, like weekly, nightly going on there. And Ian's playing Beatty, and you're playing Montag. So what happens at these rehearsals? What are you doing right now?
Well, we had just gotten done with blocking the first act, which
Blocking.
for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it is pretty much just mapping out the show. Knowing where you're gonna go, at what point, how the director might want you to. How he wants you to move.
To enter, come in.
Yeah, exactly. How to make it look like
an
an actual, scene. How to make it look very natural, flow one scene into the other. And so we have just gotten done with pretty much more than half of the show.
Great,
so
that's awesome.
It's going great.
That's just really.
And
really
as
exciting.
we do it more and more, it's becoming more natural to us. It's feeling more like an actual show. It's feeling more.
The story's coming across.
Yeah.
Oh, great. And this is a very avant-garde kind of set. Yeah, it's not your traditional
very minimal
box
yeah.
set, so it's kind of minimalistic. Does that pose an interesting? Are you kind of used to a room with a couch and all that kind of stuff? Is that anything different for you in this, or is it?
No, I think it sort of fits the theme of the play, where we're in sort of this dystopian, utilitarian future. So it almost makes sense that they just have a big box instead of a couch.
That's great.
Right.
So you hit the nail on the head. Let's kind of talk about this play itself. Ray Bradbury wrote it in the 50s, so his future was kind of what we're living today. It's kind of scary that it is so close, but it was interesting. It's a very futuristic. I never know whether to call it a thriller or just a sci-fi drama. Have you termed it in any way? Have you given it any?
There's so many ways to interpret it. I mean, like you were just saying, some of the themes are more prevalent today than they ever been. With our the lack of human connection, human individuality, how consumed we are by just mass media. There's just so many things you can just take out of the show. It's so dense that there's just so many things that it comments on that it's just, he really had the idea of where humanity was heading towards, and like you said, it is pretty scary.
It's scary that that we're 2 seconds away from heading in the direction where he's saw us in.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead at the beginning. Why is it called Fahrenheit 451 for somebody that might not have read it? Why the title?
It's the temperature paper ignites.
And paper igniting, and you two play firemen. You're the chief.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, chief.
Yes.
And you're a fireman for him. And what is your main responsibility as fireman in this show?
Well, we live in a future where all homes are now fireproof. So there are very few, traditional houses remaining, presumably. I know the character Clarice lives in one of those houses, as does Mrs. Hudson.
Right, right.
So there isn't apparently much need for actual firefighters. So we've been tasked with, burning the remaining books, which are now outlawed.
And why? Why are they outlawing books? What's the premise
The
behind
dangers of knowledge and imagination.
Uh-huh. And so this is Big Brother saying...
Pretty
yes,
much, to
this-
keep everybody in line, pretty much, keep everybody, conformed, able to have control over the masses, pretty much.
So your job as fireman, waiting to be told somebody's got books? Is
Someone's got books, someone's reading. Yeah.
You gotta take care of
and
the
that's
job.
a different punishment, right? You can have books, but if you don't read them, but if you have them and you read them, right, there's something...
It's weird how it's like, kind of really shows that there's really that gray area, especially, well, I don't really want to spoil the show.
Spoil it, we're good.
No, but it really kind of comes to show how there's that gray area between what is really acceptable in this society and what's not. And that's kind of where a lot of the confusion really comes in, especially with Montag. He's really starting to question his beliefs and like if he's like really truly fulfilled, how the way he's living, and he really starts to question everything.
And Beatty does too. Beatty's kind of...
Yeah, well, he's weird in that, he's the advocate for the burning. He's the chief. He's been doing it for, 30 some odd years. But at the same time, he has an extensive library of his own. So, as in his words, he says, I do play with ironies, don't I? So, but the beauty he sees in it is that he never touches the books, right? He has
them, but he's not...
He has thousands, but he doesn't crack them open or read.
And that's a moment you guys share, the two characters share when he comes over to your house and sees all that you have. So they've created a society where knowledge is not good. Let's keep the people dumb and let Big Brother do all the thinking for you. You have a wife. You have your wife in the show.
Right.
I'm totally lost her. Mildred.
Yes.
Yes. So Mildred's your wife, and she's kind of drugged out. Why is she just kind of popping pills?
I mean, she's definitely as kind of like our director had described her, she's kind of like a shepherd's wife. She plays a very specific role, and she is like, that's just how she is. That she is someone that she lacks individuality. She simply is just playing the role of just existing.
And that's all the women. Except for Clarice. That's kind of the role for all the women.
Yeah, they're all pretty much the same.
Just exist.
They just exist.
And television plays a big role in this because we talked about media. How does television?
Well, those are more Matt scenes, but I know they have some very interesting dystopian soap operas almost, where it seems it's not fully explained, but it seems like people are chosen by name and then given sort of a pause in the script of the show to respond. Right?
So this is your life, and you just kind of, this is your day, and we're
Mildred
here to
is asked all these different questions that she responds to. I know there's a great line where she's like, "That's my face," and I believe you say like, "No, that's just the cassette player on the TV."
Yeah, I mean, it really kind of comes down to how it takes very little to just people seek out validation. And once they receive it, it's like they don't really think about it twice.
That's okay. They've got what they needed, and they
exactly, and they're happy with that.
And it's kind of like reality TV, which gets this is so close to home. This whole story now with reality TV and how we're glued to this television set, and it's a whole wall of television and all that kind of takes over. But we're very multimedia. You were kind of alluding to that great team there. So there's a lot of sound effects and a lot of
very technical
lighting
show.
effects that are happening in this. Projections are being used. I don't think you've seen much of it yet, but you know that it's coming there. Do you feel that's a different way to perform, knowing that all this is happening around you, or are you just saying?
I mean, it definitely is a little nerve-wracking because it's a lot on the technical end that it's they have to work just as hard, if not even harder, than the actors. It's a collaborative effort. So it's like without one or the other, then it's like not the show.
Yeah.
So it's like we have to do our part just the same as they have to do theirs. But it's. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the final outcome
where all these
is
pieces are going to come together there. And I think Ray Bradbury kind of wrote it that there's all these kind of voids. It's like your character just kind of dissolves into darkness while this other
Right,
character
yeah.
comes on, which is kind of an interesting. And I think that's where Dimitri and Michael Lapointe and the guys were coming together with this idea for this set was how do we highlight you there and then just dissolve you into darkness because you're done and we're moving on to something else there. And I think that's kind of where this whole
yeah.
lighting and projections and sound effects. Dean Matson is doing the sound effects for the show, and I know that he just kind of looked at me, opened the script and going, oh my goodness, it's like nonstop. And like you said, there's a lot of interrelating with a voice. Like the voice is the clock, the voice is the alarm, so sometimes is it going to be live, is it going to be recorded, who are you talking to, and the timing of that's just going to be incredible. So I think it's great that you guys are so far ahead in the rehearsal process at this point so that you can start mixing those kind of pieces in like that. So you'll finish the blocking. I know Marie Natali's doing the costumes, so we just did our publicity photo shoot today, which is kind of cool, the uniforms that she's got you, the firemen in. She also put you in rehearsal shoes and costumes to start wearing boots and stuff. Do you find that helpful as an actor to have those kind of things early on?
Yeah, I always find, once you start doing dress rehearsal and stuff like that, and you're actually getting into your costume that you'll be wearing for the live show, I always find I feel like I embody the character a lot more then, and it's a lot easier.
Yeah. So the finishing touches are put on. This is everything I imagine, and this is it. But early on, you've got the boots to go walking in as opposed to your Vans. Kind of, you're able to walk around, and that kind of plays a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely with the boots thing, just being able to figure out just to figure out if your boots are too tight or whatever, you're walking around for a little bit.
But it makes you walk a little
and
different.
you're getting used to it. And
Clunking on the floor, am I making a lot of noise? Because the tennis is so soft on the floor, and you're walking those leather-soled shoes, it suddenly makes all this.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big difference. So that's kind of cool. And then you coats and hats and helmets and all this kind of stuff that you're wearing along the way. Dan Conrad's making props, and I know that there are these gun things. Have you seen them yet?
I haven't seen
Oh,
them.
they're great.
not
Just
seen
wait,
the
they're coming soon.
flamethrowers.
So we might get them tomorrow. I think you'll have them tomorrow to start playing with. But just things that you have to carry around and hold throughout this whole thing. So I think you'll have fun playing with Dan. We have Jared Salzman doing the lights. So he's working with Dimitri Makarakorn, who's doing the sets and the projections. So they're just kind of timing out all those lights and stuff for you guys to have this great event. I think it's more of an event. I love the fact that I just read in the New York Times that this was one of the top 10 best-selling books in the New York Public Library's history. It was number 7 of the list of top 10 books ever checked out at that library. So it's just like, this is an important story, and I think it's been a great story for a long time, and I'm so glad that we're doing it. So the show is, you'll get into these dress rehearsals as you're talking about. We get into tech, which is this whole other experience of working with all these technical gizmos that have to happen along the way there. There's not a lot of music in this show. I don't remember any music
No.
coming from your music background.
I think Ken had wanted to add some.
I don't know. He throws out a lot of ideas. So I know some of them will stick, some of them will probably won't.
And it gets into what kind of, I remember talking to Dean, he says, there's a fire alarm. I said, well, is that an alarm like we know it today? Or is this now a new futuristic sounding alarm? And so he's like, oh yeah, and that becomes everything we talk about. If there's an ashtray, is it an ashtray like today, or is it some gizmo that does that sort of thing? So now we're heading to opening night, which you guys will be so ready for, yeah?
Yeah.
This is early on. Like you said, you're in a great place, so if you can just keep that momentum going, so that once we put all that tech together, it doesn't interfere. You've got your place solid there. We're in the Ender Hall Lab Theater. You guys have performed there several shows, so this is kind of, I think this is, other than Man for All Season, this is your favorite little place to be in.
Yeah,
Over
definitely.
in Ender Hall. And then, of course, Picnic this season, you guys have performed it. So we open on the 28th, Ender Hall Lab Theater, and this is going to be a great show. I'm so excited. This is one of the most exciting shows that I've waited to have here at the campus. So break a leg, guys. I can't believe the show is over with. So we can't wait to see you in the theater. We want to thank you guys for watching. Please come see Fahrenheit 451. It'll be in the Ender Hall Lab Theater. You will see Ian Schmidt and Matthew DeMarco playing some incredible characters on stage. We run for 2 weekends. Cheap tickets, so please get it. And we'll see you there at the theater. So thank you for watching. Thank you here, everybody in the studio, for our 10th season starting. We're in our 10th year, go believe it or not. So thank you for watching, and keep tuning in, and we'll see you in the theater.
Thank you.